So these are brand new speakers from Sonos. We have the Sonos Era 100, the Sonos Era 300, and well, this is a HomePod 2. And so obviously one of the competitors for HomePods are Sonos products. And so we're going to check out the new Sonos Era 100 and 300, and I'll give you some thoughts on how I feel it stacks up against the latest HomePod 2. But before we get into everything, please like and subscribe. Truly helps me out, greatly appreciated. But I also do want to hear from you. Whenever you formulate an opinion on any of these speakers, please let that opinion be heard down in the comments section. Let's have a conversation about these speakers. For the sake of the rest of this video, I don't think I need the HomePod like right here all the time, so I'm gonna move it off to just have some more room because we're gonna mostly talk about the Sonos speakers, and then again, I'll interject how I feel about these speakers compared to the HomePod. And of course, I really don't usually like jumping into the design and going through, but the design is unique, at least when it comes to the 300. But we'll start with the smaller 100. And yeah, this looks basically like a blown up version of the Sonos One. If you have a Sonos One in your home, or if you've ever seen one, it's pretty much a taller version. Not a whole lot of different, design elements happening here with the main part of the speaker. It's got that little mesh cylindrical grill going on. On the back, you do have, and this applies for both speakers, there is a Bluetooth button, which is awesome because in the past, a lot of Sonos speakers didn't have Bluetooth capabilities, or at least not a lot of these flagship products. And so it's really nice to be able to just take this on the go with you if you want to. So you don't have to have it connected to your Wi-Fi setup if you don't want to, although that is where these speakers truly shine. But maybe you're going to a friend's house or traveling for vacation, you want to take this smaller speaker with you, you can do that, and you can only hook it up via Bluetooth, and it's super convenient. And then you have a microphone mute switch. So these speakers have built-in assistants, or the ability to use Google Assistant, Alexa, or Sonos. You cannot use Siri, but you can use Sonos' own assistant or Alexa and Google. And then there is a USB-C port, which is not how it charges. Actually, here on the bottom is where you will find on the 100 your power cable, or your port for your power cable. And on the back of the 300 is where you'll see that one. But there are USB-C ports on it, and that's because there is a lineup of USB-C accessories. I have the Ethernet and line out, so the 3.5 millimeter line out dual combo accessory. Unfortunately, you cannot buy a off-brand one, or at least I do not believe it works with the special software that's kind of going on. So you will need to get the Sonos versions, which, I mean, depending on how you look at it, they're a little expensive. It's $30, but you don't really need it, because if you are planning to use this with just your phone and you're playing music off of your phone, well, then you don't need the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That is for, or the line out jack, that is for connecting other speakers and legacy audio devices, which I will say, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there is a special reason why I would like that, and maybe you might too, so maybe you might want to pick up the adapter. And then you don't really need the Ethernet part, because you can connect these via Wi-Fi. But if your Wi-Fi is not strong enough, or if you just want a really good connection, you want to plug it in via Ethernet, you can do that. So the design of this one, we kind of talked about the back and the side, but the different part of it is really the top. You have capacitive buttons here for, skipping forward, skipping backward, and playing and pause. But there's also to quickly mute the assistant, I believe is what this button here is. But the part up here, this little indentation, is actually a volume slider, which is so much better than what it used to be, which I believe were just capacitive buttons. And now you can kind of do a slide, and you can hear, I believe if you go all the way from left to right, that takes you 100. If you go halfway, that's 50. And then you can do little increments in between, and there are audio cues to let you know where you are. You can see it in the app. It's great. I love it. And it's on both the Era 100 and the 300. Now, let's talk about the 300's design real quick. I just went over everything in terms of buttons and ports. That is all the same. But the design, I mean, yeah, let's put it on my head. It looks like a VR headset, does it not? It's insane. People didn't like it, and I think a lot of you will probably feel strongly about it when you look at it. But when you get it in person, by the way, it's super heavy. When you get it in person, though, I mean, I really like it. It's unique. I mean, I also really like the HomePod. Yeah, I love this like mesh cylindrical shape. I think it's really cool. I like the visual aspect of the top glass. But in terms of the design compared to the HomePod, I mean, you have this Era 100, which is pretty close in size. It's just a little bit taller. It's probably about the same width. Maybe the HomePod's a little bit bigger, but I mean, they're kind of the same. But this guy, I mean, look at it. It's massive in comparison. And while this does look ridiculous, and while it is massive compared to the HomePod and super heavy, as I mentioned before, it does pack a lot of audio tech inside, which I will jump into more in just a minute. But in terms of the design, I know it's unique. I know these look like VR goggles. They kind of look like you have a giant Meta Quest here, but honestly, I really liked it. After I got it in, I did think it looked a little ridiculous when I saw some of the images when it was first announced, but I didn't think too strongly of it like a lot of other people did, but I kind of like it. And again, this also comes in black, and the Era 100 does come in white. And so, yeah, that's the overall design. That's what you need to know. Let's jump into the sound quality, starting off with the Era 100. And it sounds a lot like a Sonos One. I think it's a little bit better than a Sonos One, but ever so slightly. And I think it's not enough to want to go out and buy another one to upgrade it. Unless your Sonos Ones or Play Ones are on their way out and they're defective and you need to replace them, then yes, I would probably take a look at the Era 100s. But if you're perfectly fine, I don't think you need to upgrade unless you want more of a punch with the Sonos 300, because with the 100, I would say the HomePod, and if, by the way, you were thinking about should I get a 100 or a HomePod 2, I would probably go HomePod 2 if you're heavily invested in the Apple ecosystem. Obviously, you need an iPhone to set this up, so that kind of goes without saying. If you're watching this, I'm just assuming that you're under the Apple ecosystem, or you're okay with being invested in it, and you already have Apple devices in order to set all of this up. And so, yeah, I mean, I would probably pick, from sound quality perspective, go with one or two of these, because this can really connect with your TV. If you have an Apple TV, you can have two of these be stereo pair and work for Dolby Atmos sound, and it sounds really, really good. Whereas with the Era 100, you would still need two, but you'd also need either a Beam second generation or an ARC soundbar in order to connect and make these two dual like rear channels. And so you need quite a bit more invested in the Sonos ecosystem than you would with Apple. You would just need two HomePods, and of course, you need an iPhone. So in terms of sound quality, I would definitely say that the HomePod 2 has the edge over the 100. But when it comes to the 300, not the case. I've told you how massive this thing is, and that's for good measure. This packs a ton of drivers and tweeters. You have two left and right tweeters, two subwoofers inside, which is a lot more bass. I mean, it's 2 times the amount of bass is what you would get with the HomePod, and it really, really shows. And then you have a couple of more drivers scattered throughout, and also one tweeter on top, which is what pushes the audio up for Dolby Atmos. So you kind of get that overhead, surround sound feeling, and you don't really get that with the HomePod. I mean, you're supposed to get that sort of same feeling, but you really don't because of the way it's designed. And here you have that grill up top. It's allowing for more of the sound to travel up and over your head, and you really do feel that specific channel. And so I think that's where a lot of the perks come in, especially when you're listening to Dolby Atmos audio and spatial audio, which the speaker does do. And it works with Amazon Music and it works with Apple Music, but there are tons of services that you can link within the app. And we'll talk about the app a little bit more in just a second. But in terms of sound quality, I think it's been incredible on the 300. Unfortunately, I only have one here for testing. I do plan to buy another one because I want to hook it up for my home theater setup and have, instead of the Sonos Ones for your left and right channel, I wanted to try these two, which, by the way, this video is not sponsored by Sonos at all. They did loan us out, or they did send us out the Era 100 and the 300 for me to check out and review, but they didn't tell me anything else besides here's some information on it. These opinions are my own. If you've ever watched me talk about Sonos products in the past, you do know I am a huge fan of them. And so, yeah, overall sound quality has been fantastic. I do love that you can tune some of that inside of the app. The app, again, is fantastic. That's where you would do all of your TruePlay tuning. Whenever you set up your speaker, you immediately go through that. You can do a quick one if you really just want to listen to it, or you can go through more advanced tuning so that it kind of picks up the stuff in your room, your surroundings, and how it would sound, and it tailors the speaker. The HomePod does the same thing. It kind of just does that on its own, but you go through sort of like an audio test and it will set that up so you kind of know what's happening, and it sounds really, really good. Again, super heavy in the low end because of those two woofers compared to the HomePod, and obviously compared to the Sonos One or the Era 100. This blows kind of both of these out of the water, honestly. So yeah, so far I've really enjoyed using the Era 300. Obviously the 100 is really good, but one of the other things I do want to mention, I think I've talked about this in another video, but it's absolutely one of my favorite products. I love to listen to vinyl, like anyone else that has decided to kind of jump back into the vinyl revival. I have jumped in. I've had records in the past, and now I purchase a lot of new vinyl, just kind of add to collection, but I also just enjoy listening to it. And I have this turntable from Victrola. It's the Stream Carbon. It is one of the first, and I believe one of the only like ones that you can purchase that works with Sonos directly, and you can stream your music to any Sonos speakers and system that you have set up in your house. And I use it a lot with the Sonos Era 300 and the 100, but mostly the 300, and it sounds incredible. There's no need to use the line out because it is all wireless. And so yes, you can save a boatload of money if you're looking to pick up a cheaper turntable. Use that 3.5 millimeter line out and go through the USB-C port. But if you want to keep things wireless, say the setup of your room, you have things across, or you just don't want to have this speaker next to it, or any Sonos speaker, you want to send vinyl throughout your whole home, you can do that with the Victrola Stream. So I wanted to kind of give that another shout out. If you want to see more info about that, I can do a full video. Just let me know down in those comments. If you're someone who used the chapters and skipped to the end, I guess I can just tell you the TLDR of this whole video is this sounds really good. HomePod sounds a little bit better than this one. This sounds better than both of these, and I highly recommend it. It is expensive. Again, this is $249. This retails for $299, and this is for $49, which it is cheaper than the Sonos 5, which I also have and do love. But I think this almost sounds better than that, and it's smaller footprint and it's cheaper, and so I would recommend picking this guy up 100%. Definitely get two if you can swing it, because I'm sure it sounds incredible with your home theater. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. This has been Dan with Mac Rumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.